called a foundation stone. We are standing more or less over here. 3,000 years ago, King David builds the city of Jerusalem over here. It is here on the peak of Mount Moriah where King David's son, King Solomon, builds the first temple. Solomon's temple stands here for about 400 years, and then it is destroyed by the Babylonians. 70 years later, the second temple is built. The second temple starts small, but it grows, and towards the end, a great builder, Herod the Great, this is in the year -20, more or less, expands the temple. How does he do this? He cuts off a piece of the mountain, surrounds the peak of Mount Moriah with 4 walls, building a platform on top. And so we have the northern wall, southern wall, eastern wall, and western wall. So what is the western wall? It is the western wall of King Herod's Grand Temple Mount Plaza. And what we see is just this tiny segment outside, the original expansion of the Temple Mount looked something like this. So this is the plaza outside, so pay attention. When you're outside, when you were up against the wall, there was more wall under the floor of the plaza and lots more of the wall further north. We're going to be going under the houses. Now, the temple is destroyed in the year 70. The temple back then was the center of the entire civilization. It was not only the religious center, it was a place where people would gather 3 times a year for national holidays. This is where the high courts of justice were. The center of Jewish identity back then, 2,000 years ago, was in this location, and the destruction was a terrible, traumatic experience for the Jews living back then. 650 years after the destruction of the temple, the first Muslims arrived in this part of the world, and according to Muslim belief, the peak of Mount Moriah, the foundation stone, is where Muhammad ascends to the heavens. They build a monument to that ascent, the Dome of the Rock, same Dome of the Rock that we see outside for the last 1,300 years. And then later on, about 700 years later, there is a new Muslim regime here, the Mamelukes here, and they want to expand the old city by building their houses up on top of arches. They want the space between the western wall and the rest of the city all at the same level. So 750 years ago, they built their houses on top of arches, and a great deal of their homes are leaning up against the western wall, and for the last 750 years, most of the western wall is covered by the houses of the old city. So what we're doing in our short tour is we will be walking all the way to the western wall, and then go along the western wall and see what's north of the plaza, the continuation of the western wall. Now, if you missed my beginning, I'm going to repeat myself inside the tunnel. So I'm just going to put my toys away and we're going to move on to our next stop.